Administration and Land Acquisition Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 17th, to order at 6:01 p.m. Motion to approve the April 19th
But it's not ours to
minutes.
fix. It's not ours to fix. Yeah. It's the bank.
Make a motion.
So,
Make a motion, we got a motion to accept the minutes as presented, second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Let's move on to agenda items here. Review the accounting reports as presented by City Accountant. Pages 12 through 18 are agenda package. City Council agenda?
Yes, it's in the city council agenda, page
Alright.
12 through 18, and it's just the check listing for this meeting. And there's really nothing unusual until you get to Fund 4. There's one of the payments for the wastewater treatment plant.
Bam.
So you'll see that large payment in
Yeah.
there.
That's good, they'll catch you.
And then in Fund 17, you'll see a check written for Austin Tyler Construction. Basically, back in March, we issued a check for them pending the payment to come in from the EPA. That payment still has not come, and I don't want to leave it hanging any longer, so we voided that old check and rewrote this one. But it's not going to be released until that payment from the EPA comes in. So, like I said, I sat on it for a while, and the check still hasn't come. So I want to end our fiscal year cleanly, record the revenue that comes in, matching it with the expense when it's going to happen. And that's why that check has been reissued.
What'd you do with the old check?
Voided it.
Is
We were holding it,
Was it out of this account?
yes.
So you didn't put a credit there, though, huh? You didn't?
No, we don't list any voids on this listing, but it is a wash to the account. The only difference is it crosses fiscal years. So,
Frank, I checked that out when I signed the check.
oh,
You knew you were
absolutely.
doubling up there?
I guess that ain't right. I remember this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last one is the capital project fund, the open lands check that we discussed, I believe, last meeting. So those are the three unusual items in the check register.
Kim, you're doing a good job.
Yep. Thank you. Any questions on any of these checks?
Anybody have any questions for Kim?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Kim. New business. Review and approve the First Amendment to the annexation with City of Wilmington, and Joliet Arsenal Development Authority for lodges.
Yeah, this, you have the amended version, which we sort of talked about at the last meeting, and the public hearing will be at the city council. It's still in draft form. We're not looking for any type of approvals even tonight. We've got some more cleanup to do yet. But the main principal part of the amendment is it removes that million-gallon tank commitment that was supposed to be up front, and now we reworded the language that if it's needed, the individual users or owners are basically have to build that, build their own water supply system if they need it for storage. The studies show that the supply is adequate and more than adequate enough to service the property in the condition of what it's zoned. The one area that we can improve, as we heard from the engineers, is the river crossing. So in the agreement, we have a $400,000 payment that was supposed to expire in April of 2017. We told Prologis and Jada that expiration isn't going to happen, and upon signing the agreement, they paid the $400,000. We're not going to have a date anymore when they have to pay that $400,000. So they have not come back with any counteroffer on the $400,000. They did verbally talk a little bit with me that they might decide to put that into an escrow account, and then if they don't close with a user, or developer, or purchaser within 6 months, then it would get released. Or if they do close within 6 months, it'll get released. By being an escrow account, it'll be part of the closing settlement cost of any type of sale. I'm at a point of stating, is that an offer? We'll consider it, but our offer stands. Upon signing this annexation, then for it to get recorded, it'll get recorded and approved upon a $400,000 payment. No escrow, no nothing. So, without seeing any new language, I don't know if they're gonna propose anything different.
And without signing this, they don't get out of the water tower, right?
Correct, yeah, oh yeah.
And Tony, I do have a motion here for this.
You shouldn't.
It says, I move to approve the First Amendment to the annexation agreement, City of Wilmington, Jada, and Prologis.
But we're not looking to approve it tonight, because this is in final form.
All right, so let's make sure that.
It's on the agenda, is it?
Yes, it is, number two,
It's on,
D2.
it's on for the hearing, right?
John has,
No, it's not, D2.
Oh,
John has a public hearing. No problem.
okay, I missed that.
So,
We're not gonna, yeah, we're not gonna be approving, we're not gonna be approving anything.
Are we doing a
I
public?
told all, oh, you doing the public
hearing?
Oh, yeah, the public hearing we're doing, yeah. The public hearing's been posted and all that, so.
Okay, this is void, right?
Yeah, good catch. Number two, we're not gonna be.
All right.
So all of the language that's cleaned up in here basically takes out the master plan language that it's owned by one owner. It's not, now it's gonna be owned by whoever buys Prologis or builds on Prologis and whoever buys or purchases the Jada site. They'll be responsible for their own stormwater, their own roads, their own utilities. Now, can we end up with a master plan? Possibly if a new user comes in and buys all the parcels, we can work with that through planning and engineering. But each property owner is going to be responsible for our subdivision standards. We're not waiving any subdivision standards in this agreement, so that they have to provide all the proper, just like anything else, anybody else that would come in to buy property. They got to follow our rules. And that's generally what the, you see the comments that were deleted, it was more all related to, joint venture more or less between Prologis and Jada, and when Prologis didn't buy the whole thing, the agreement doesn't work anymore. So, we didn't, recapture is still a recorded document, we're not waiving any recapture, and we, inserted that any fees that are applicable to all our subdivision codes and ordinances are applicable to this project. So if we have a sewer connection fee of $6,000, that's their fee too. So we're not, we didn't change anything in regards to fees to any of the new owners. And if someone wants to come in and there's discussion about that, we can always have discussion with that new owner, but there's nothing here that we're waiving anything. I think the agreement is in good substantial final format. I do know there was a couple of things the attorney sent back to John yesterday from Prologis, and then the Jada attorney got a couple of cleanup. Like, they're nothing substantial, they're nothing financial. So we'll have a hearing and we'll see if there's any comments at that point.
All right, anybody else got anything to add or comments to be made about this at this time? Hearing none, let's move on. Review and approve a Union Pacific Railroad Company pipeline crossing agreement.
This is due to the high-speed rail. There's a, when you look through all the records, a lot of things were permitted that we use for our water and sewer lines go underneath, and there were some things that were not. And this is a crossing over by Fork Creek, I believe, if I remember right. So it's just a legal document for this to get approved by the city council. Reviewed by Colby.
What's going to be the impact?
No impact. It's just mainly
Clean up?
authority to allow access for our for use on their property. I think that's a storm. I think that's a sanitary sewer line they're talking about, if I remember right.
says one 12-inch concrete encased pipeline for transporting and conveying potable water only.
Oh, potable water, it's water.
It's
Okay.
water.
Water. Thank you.
So they're building a track over it and they need to encase it, that's what we're
Yeah.
telling them,
Yeah,
to protect it.
yes. And it should be a motion for that, right?
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
So by allowing them to do this, we're going to have them encase it. Are they going to change, if they're encasing it, are they changing that section? They be digging that up and they changing it to concrete
Let's
encase?
see, did Kobe write a comment on it? I don't think so.
Or are they going to pour concrete and encase it in place?
Leave, let's see. How do they have it? Here it is. Trenched in rock with concrete encasement.
Encased in concrete and limestone creek bed.
Proposed relocated carrier pipe.
Okay, there, it looks like it's a relocate of the line, or of the line itself, and they're gonna encase it.
So, and they're paying for the whole deal,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Under their paper.
I'm just saying, if we're gonna build another track over it, I would just as soon have a brand new encased line, so
Yeah.
we're not boring under that rail to replace it in a few years.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So we'll have,
Method of insulation.
we're gonna have a water outage because we're not looped in over there for a certain amount of time for them to do the tie-in then. And
Yeah, there probably will be, unless they do a bypass, which I don't think they, well, there's an existing line there, it might just be a short
usually
stop.
they build them next to each other
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah, it might be a
so
short
many hours
stop.
of an outage while they tie it in.
Yeah.
Then you gotta have a boiler.
I think we'll have to get more of the detail on that.
Yeah,
From Kobe, get a report from Kobe.
Yeah, make them tell us what they plan on doing.
okay.
So do we want to approve this yet? Or do you want to get some more information on it?
Why don't I contact Kobe when they get a break, and see if there's urgency to prove it tonight or not.
Okay.
And, I don't think there is, so.
Anybody got any other questions? All right, C, review project High Point Economic Development Incentive Agreement.
And this is our boilerplate agreement that we've been doing out at Bridgeport. This is the Building Bravo expansion. The company that's coming in there is looking for the 50% utility rebate. It's for 7 years. We do have a cap in the agreement. So there's a creation of about, if I remember right, 60 jobs. 49, get confused here. Hold on, let me get a quick look. Oh, they didn't put any number in yet. I know it's between 50 to 60 jobs they're looking at. What I would say is this, if we're in agreement to approve this, we could say, for the motion, I think we should say something about approve it on, how do we have it?
They only have to review, they don't have an approve in here.
No, good. Oh, it's not on the agenda yet?
No.
Okay, good.
We have to review tonight.
It was
Review
just a
tonight.
review.
Because we don't have all the numbers from them. Okay,
It was, yeah. It was-
so hopefully, well, I mean,
An understanding and consensus from the council moving forward with this is pretty much a standard economic development agreement we have had with the other ones in the past, so.
yes.
And it runs per job created, correct?
Yeah.
Per job created and based on the pay that's issued on the job. So if they bring in 50 guys at minimum wage, there's no subsidy whatsoever. It's based on what the labor force, what their salary is.
We've been using this in the tip also, with everybody else.
Yeah, the ones with Michelin's and, they've all got the same
CDC.
agreement, yeah.
Well, the one thing I would say, we might consider, at least on the next one, but not this one, I could bring it to the guys. We look at the hourly rate, we had 11 to 15.99 for the unskilled number of jobs. I mean, we're seeing out there that the basic jobs are coming in right around $12.50. I don't know too many of them that are coming in 11.
Yeah, the lowest one I know of is actually Michelin, which is at 13.
Yeah.
Everybody else has been about the $13.
I mean, I could do a little survey out there and ask what CDC's lowest is and what Michelin, I think Michelin is 13. I mean, you may want to consider, if we're giving incentives, we want to keep everybody at a pay rate.
Bump up the unskilled job.
Yeah, I think bump up the unskilled job to at least $12, if not $12.50. And that way it's, as we're finding out, there are people that go out there for jobs. If one company doesn't need it, to send them to the other company, or that from personal experience that the mayor had, so, with somebody that went out there. So, and I think that's great. They're all, the human resource people are communicating with each other on with skilled and unskilled workers.
So the lowest rate out there right now is what?
The lowest rate out there is actually $13.
It's 12, I think, Marty.
The CDC at 12?
Okay, that's what I think, that's what I think it was 12, but I'll find
I
out.
agree.
I think we should go up to 13.
Yeah.
For people.
I mean, as we all said, this agreement's going to be fluid,
Right.
because the first ones that come in get,
As a development comes in, I think we need to continually look at that and bump it up incrementally a little bit to encourage the job market out there. We don't want to get in that quagmire where you get the 3PLs and they're paying minimum wage. They're taking all the additional.
Just go look at Elwood.
Yep.
I was just thinking about that.
And that was really the big reason for this incentive program, was to encourage the higher pay to those unskilled laborers. So.
yeah. Okay. I got that project, I put it on. We might be able to make the announcement actually before we pass this, because I know the lease was signed,
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
so.
Yeah, I
Any
think
other comments on this?
Is everybody okay with this going forward and possibly changing that unskilled job law?
We just have a review, we don't have a motion.
No.
I'll just, I mean, if everything goes good, we can,
Like Tony said, the agreement, the lease agreement for Project 5, I think was signed today, or yesterday, so, we're still, it's good to hear, because you know somebody else is coming in, so.
yeah.
Where are they going?
They're going in Project Bravo, that, the spec 700,000 that was, they were building.
Somebody using the other half right now?
The CDC's got 230,000 of it,
Yeah,
and then they're actually working with the new tenants, or like, future, another like 150,000 that they're gonna use too, which is good. The tenants are really starting to, because they're all food, in this area, so.
I noticed, they graded the road. Have you been down there lately? I went
Yeah.
down there today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they straightened that mess out anyhow.
Yeah.
It's drivable right now.
Yeah.
A couple of them are boarded up. I wish they would just buy out the last few people there and be done with it.
process.
They're in the process.
There's processes going on. Helion and they're taking a little more of an aggressive approach to acquire the properties that are out there within that footprint, so.
I would strike while it's hot. Right now it's hot out there, you know.
They're actually going and sitting across the kitchen table. I've introduced them to people, and
Yeah, we've got some positive feedback from some of the people out there. that have
the
done
people really
it, so.
appreciate that they came to their house to look at their house and
A
sat
couple
across
really
the
nice
table.
ones out there.
Yeah, somebody's losing a really nice
I
house
feel
out
bad
there.
for that guy.
I know, wow. Wow.
That guy's got.
It's a gorgeous place.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Good.
All right,
Let's move on.
yeah.
From what we're hearing from the homeowners, we are happy, so.
That's good. Update proposed water rates.
Did you,
Page 29?
Are they attached?
It's page 29.
That's the
Other finance one, finance.
Page 29 is finance.
Yes.
There's one
And my apologies for missing.
Yeah, after we had the ordinance and license committee meeting, as we're trying to tie this into our budget, we recommended to come back, the committee wanted to see, you know, the recommendation of what would work for balancing the budget. So to do that, what we're proposing is, SIR rates are staying the same. We're not looking to increase SIR rates on the base or on the user fee. On the water, we are looking, proposal for 1,000 gallons. It'll go up $1.21 per 1,000 gallons. And then the water base is staying the same. And then what we're proposing, it was brought up at the committee level, that if we do raise the rate to $1.21 for 1,000 gallons, to request the freeze for the senior, instead of a discount, freeze the rate as it is currently today, and they would not be impacted by this rate. So for the senior and permanent disabled, which we have about 640,
About 670.
670 users, there would be a frozen, there would be no rate increase at all for those individuals.
What are we considering a senior?
65 and over, right?
I think so.
62.
62 and over on the water?
62 in the ordinances.
Yeah.
Okay, 62. Okay, that's why we're, well, to determine the rate discount.
Determined, yeah.
And permanently disabled.
Not the AARP.
And
So,
how,
with the rate increase, even with the,
$2 off.
it's gonna be about a little over like $1.80, for the minimum will be less, mainly due to the fact we got the garbage that dropped $3. Actually, yeah, $3. And then for the senior, the frozen, they will see the total $3 of the current rate. So,
how, and I don't know, so my apologies if this was asked during the meeting because I wasn't there, but how do we determine whether someone qualifies as a senior?
By their age.
By their age.
Age.
and you know,
No, they have to come in and show proof.
Oh, yeah, they gotta come in, is
They
that
come
what you
in and
mean?
ask,
you.
they come in and request,
Yeah, they
I
have
got that figured out.
yeah, they come in and request, as new people come in, when we have new residents come in, we will say in the office, you know, we do offer a senior discount if you are this age. And people are like, no, I'm not, or yes, I definitely am. You know, we don't come ask somebody,
Okay.
are you a senior? It's more or less, we do offer a senior discount when you hit this age, and then we let those people respond.
Where did 712 come from?
basically balancing the operation budget that was proposed by the superintendent and Kim and Kobe. We came up with that $1.21 to balance the budget. It doesn't even balance it all the way because we're also supplementing it as a contingency. We're supplementing that budget because we know there'll be reduction. Every time we do an increase, we usually start seeing about a 5 or 7% reduction in water use. The people can't control their water bill on the usage. The base fee, they can't. When we raise the base fee, it's there, but we'll notice a little bit. So we're also supplementing this with, from the corporate, we transfer 60,000? 70 we came up with. So we're still supplementing this, if needed, with $70,000 of corporate to get transferred over.
If needed.
If needed.
And why are you doing that?
Well, for two reasons. One is, this year was the last year they were doing the enterprise funds where all the cost is incorporated into the enterprise funds. The workman's comp, the liability, all the insurance costs were always being absorbed by corporate. So we broke it out to now sanitary sewer and water will have their total cost. They can operate independently on their cost. When we did that, the cost for insurance is just about $66,000 that we're.
Yeah, well, this year we're adding in the true cost of property liability insurance and then the workers' comp, which previously workers' comp has been absorbed through general corporate. So adding those two numbers to the true number did increase it by about $63,000, $66,000, an increase in the water fund. So
It
that's,
increased their liability by that much.
yeah,
Yeah, expenses on it.
expenses.
So we're looking at corporate could afford in the budget to have that as sort of the reserve. And if we did that, then we could keep the fee at 121. If corporate wasn't going to be a reserve, a backup plan more or less for the water, then we would have had to have the fee higher, which I think we might have came up with at one point, 160 something,
Yeah.
might have been.
And the other thing too is this hasn't been passed yet, so we're losing months that we can bill at because we do have to give notice to our residents that the rates will change.
This would be the August.
There's no rainy day fund in here at all, huh?
Well, the rainy day fund is basically corporate. I mean,
It's not
on
water
the,
paying for itself.
yeah, on the capital end, we do have some in the capital, not much in the budget for capital, but for operations, there's about a 20,000, there's a 20, how much was it in the budget? Can we end up with?
In operations, we would end up with like $100,000, $140,000, but you have to remember, part of that's receivables for fund balance.
Oh, yes.
So fund balance is your cash plus your receivables, and there's always a receivable because billings occur the last day of the month.
No.
So it's not necessarily cash. I mean, when you're talking cash, you are talking about $20,000 in cash.
We've got, I don't know how many miles of 100-year-old water main, we're trying to figure out what to do with. I don't know why we're not taking advantage of trying to build some sort of funding mechanism into this water rate to replace them, because we're going to have to replace them.
And-
we end up loaning money to do it.
And the one thing that we are doing is 25% of the base fee gets transferred into capital projects on an annual basis. It happens monthly. We transfer 25% of that base fee, which isn't a lot. It's about $50,000 a year that gets set aside there. Late fees go into the capital projects funds as well. So there's some,
We got
But
some going in, but just not at a high.
but unfortunately, there's still projects that are being done on a regular basis, you know, that are improvements. So,
It's there to help absorb what we're doing right now, but it's not really there to create that slush fund that we had many years ago until they spent it all on the O'Brien's and the day one projects. So that's what's, you know, it's very hard to get that without totally raping and pillaging the residents. You know, you don't want to jack it up too high.
No, obviously we don't. I mean, we realized the $3 a month savings on garbage, and I was hoping we would use some portion of that to fund some
So
sort
it's
of.
really hoping we could have just given it all to them and didn't have to raise anything. You know, that's the challenge. And, you know, we're faced with challenges. I mean, not only we're faced with labor costs and insurance costs and stuff like that, but we're faced with EPA mandates and stuff like that. And those are our biggest challenges, and that's the hardest thing sometimes to convey to the citizens, that that's what we're, you know, a lot of what we're paying for.
They don't understand when the water mains break and we're not supplying them any water.
Right? But at the same time,
I
and
wonder
that's,
why we're not taking advantage of the situation to start building some sort of a sustainable fund so we can actually plan a project every year.
Why we sold stuff for the tower too, was money, backup money, instead of paying for buildings. That's my thought on that one, so.
Anybody got any other questions about the proposed water rate?
And I'll apologize again for not being at the meeting, but with what Frank said, is there, if we increase it, you said it was 60 cents?
The,
we said, yeah, going to, instead of $1.21, increasing it like $1.60
So, okay,
something.
so an additional 40, even if we go 50 cents, how much of a difference could that make? And they'll still, you know, putting it higher, letting them still realize a little bit of a savings, but putting it higher so we can put something in.
What would 50 cents per person per month per year add up to? Is that what you asked?
For the per gallon, per 1,000 gallons. Just ballpark, I mean, I know that you probably,
50 more cents to $70.53 would be $71.
Today, total.
Right.
We're not looking for what net, what
how much
Yeah,
more
what
are we
do we-
looking
it's-
at?
what are we assumed to get out of that?
I'll tell you a second.
It's hard to even balance because now you got to factor in how much, you're always saying
Understood.
people tend to save 5 to 7%, but
Sure.
they tend to use less water. So
I mean,
it's,
just ballpark,
I'll give you one purpose,
You don't even have, you only have the two on here this time.
like how many,
Right.
about $40,000 more dollars.
40,000?
Oh, wait, no, wait, they go,
Oh,
wait,
Can't be that.
point 75, because it's 9 months, $30,000 more dollars. And that's, I discounted out the seniors out of that too, because I figure we have at least, 35% of the users are seniors out of the, so. The one thing I would say is, for this year, due to the fact that we still got to find out what the IEPA is going to be adopting. I mean, we got some new rules that were sent out to us last week in regards to possibly some future costs it's going to be for testing for additional lead and copper. They haven't been approved yet. We don't even think they have the authority to enact these rules because they haven't gone through proper notices. And a lot of other people believe the same thing. But we do know there probably will be additional testing we'll have to do for lead and copper. It's just the EPA is going to mandate that, and then the IEP adoption. But that cost wasn't that great. I mean, it's going to probably add about another 60 testings at $35 a piece. So we're looking at somewhere in the range of, $2,000, $2,500 more dollars. And it isn't the cost that is going to be the issue to it, it's the man hours. Because anytime we're doing testing has to be done under the certification and a process just like a crime scene. You gotta have that evidentiary, pick the test up, do this, certify it, take it here, seal it, package it, and get it to the lab. So it isn't just taking a test tube over and getting the water. Each time they do a test, it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes to do that. But the good part about it is they're not looking to overdo it right now, maybe 60 more tests. However, the big cost is going to be, they want us to test more over a 3-month period of time if we get a water main break. Because that's where supposedly the lead gets stirred up, which, there's a lot of debate yet on how that lead got stirred up in Flint, Michigan, protocol.
Just gonna say.
But the issues are going to be, we could end up with $3,000 to maybe $10,000 more dollars in testing. So operations cost is not going to go down, but I think we're okay this year. I get what you're saying, but I think this is the year, for people to absorb this. I mean, you get a family of 4, all of a sudden, they're going from paying a $72 bill, they're going to be going up to somewhere around $76. I mean, they're going to get almost a $4 increase, and with a $3 discount for garbage. So it's, and we do have to think about that a little bit. I think this works. The base fee is probably the one we need to work on because that's the fee that we can then put aside. But we didn't do a base fee rate this time because we felt we need to probably look at, should we look at a tiered system? Should we look at something else? I mean, Darren and Ryan Foster both believe we might need to examine how we collect a base fee. Because we had the tenants and landlords in here saying, is that really a fair way to charge, the apartment dwellers a base fee, and why isn't the larger users paying more? So we'd like to be able to look at that a little bit more as we're doing things, but we all know we're in a sort of a new assessment with our water plant, and it's going well. I think this is a good number. Another year, it gives us a little bit of cushion. If operations can maintain this, so we don't need to draw money from corporate, then we got that money sitting in corporate. If you want, you could, instead of transfer it into the operations fund, that's a decision made by you guys, you could transfer it into the capital water fund at the end of the year. That could be a backup plan. And that could be a good idea. Instead of put 50,000 more into, capital plan, we might be able to put 120 at the end of the day. Like, we do have to look at the 4-inch pipes on Key Street to get replaced. There's no choice about that. And I think we need to start planning for that and maybe get the engineering done this year, and then maybe look at some IEPA loan forgiveness type programs that they might come up with. So.
Where does Bridgeport have any, how will this help us out? I mean, we've talked about it before that, okay, Bridgeport, we got water running out there, but we'll lower our rates. Well, when does this start to take effect? 5 years, 10 years?
Well, it depends on what.
I understand if we get somebody with a lot of water usage, but I mean, how do we actually tell the people?
Well, I don't know if we ever promoted that water rates were I think it was going to be property taxes and other expenses because.
There was discussion back when we first did the study that when some of these users went out to Ridgeport, there was a possibility, and we were talking about getting a group of residents, there was a possibility of water rates being lowered.
Yeah, there was at that time, there was a couple potential high-end water users.
Right.
Oh, we were talking about Niagara, yeah, the water bottle
So
company.
the potential can always be there, but,
Yeah. That's true.
I think, and that was the reason why we're doing what we're doing, why every 6 months we're reviewing the water rates, because we want to ensure that we're doing the right thing and we're keeping it as tight to the belt as possible. We still have to continue to look at operation costs, find out if there's any way we can cut operational costs. But at the same time, we did that, we just didn't want to do the arbitrary 5% increase every year like happened in the past. We wanted to make sure that we were true to what we were doing as far as what our expenses were, and if we were getting the money, we were not pulling from every other fund to meet that, which is what wasn't happening. So.
And I think we do see a small benefit that we're able to figure out to freeze the seniors. Without having some of the capacity fees getting paid by the users going in out there, it has helped a little bit with operations, because they do pay. We are getting, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in fees for permits that are coming in for water. That gives us the ability to freeze the seniors. Otherwise, we have to probably be at 160, and So I think it's hard to say that to people saying, well, you're just telling me it could have been higher because Ridgeport's here. But we are starting to see a little bit of the benefit. But the other thing we're seeing is, I don't think any of us could have predicted 6 years ago what the impact was going to be with surface water and with the IEPA and the water quality issues that are starting to come down. All good reasons, because we do need good water. But some of the requirements that are hitting us now, we're probably not predicted if we're going to have to pay these extra dollars to do this extra testing.
So if we're making money, because we know we're making our money off of our car wash and stuff like that, people flushing the toilet. I mean, are we talking to anybody if this is what we're looking for, like some kind of hotel, motel, where they got to flush the toilet, they got to take a shower? I mean, is anybody going this route?
Yeah, there's a new, they're doing a marketing study now for hospitality out there at Bridgeport. It's $60,000 they're paying, not us, which the mayor's been asking them to do for the last 2 years. But the market study consultants said it wasn't time until they actually get some buildings going. So they've committed, the new owners committed to spend the $60,000 for the hospitality study, which is what the hotels have been asking. I mean, we did have a hotel interested out there, but they wanted a hospitality study done. So they're spending the $60,000 for that. It takes about 4 months to do that study.
So something like this, Tony, would actually help?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something like this. So this is a goal that we could actually look for as a council, saying, this is what we need.
Yeah.
I definitely know it would help.
The more people you have sharing the cost of the pie, the eventual way you're going to be able to lower the.
I'm just trying to help out,
it's just
stupid. I'm just.
Oh yeah, we'd love to see it next week, but.
But you're right, having tenants that are using hospitality is a lot better than having homeowners pay. It can help with absorbing the cost by having the toilets get flushed by somebody here for a day, then they pay the same. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else come before the committee?
Well, we do have the budget As the last item on the committee, I believe. We're actually having a budget hearing in June, but for it to go on, it's going to display for at least 10 days. So after having all those meetings at all the committee levels, we finally come together with the revenues and expenses, and here's what it's all starting to look like. Kim did a summary sheet that I think could give you at least a forecast on the health of our financial situation. And we start off with corporate. Why don't you explain your columns, because I
Okay.
don't.
All the way to the left was our budget for this fiscal year that just ended. Page 30,
I'm sorry?
page 30
Oh,
in the finance.
In the
finance
council,
packet.
the last page.
I was there once.
It's the one page.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay? Okay, so down the center in the highlights, I have by fund listed and I have it highlighted. To the left, the first column is the FY 2016 plan. That was our budget. That was our original budget that we placed for this fiscal year that just ended April 30th. And overall, in general corporate, we anticipated almost a $240,000 loss. In actuality, we came in at right around $49,000 loss. So you can see how, even though we anticipate a larger loss, we sometimes come in better. Or it could happen vice versa. If you go down to the sewer operating fund, we anticipated a $150,000 loss, and we actually came in showing a $17,000 profit. Now, is it that we have just done so much better? No, we anticipate expenses to occur, and then sometimes that attention has to change and we don't do a project, or something like that can happen. But in our budget, as you know, we try to keep revenues as true to what the actual number is going to be, and the expenses close to what they're going to be, with still a little extra room for the things we can't prepare for. So that's the first two columns, and I did that mainly just so you could see how quickly that can change from what we thought was going to happen to what did happen.
Oh, yeah.
The next column, FY 2017 fund balance. Okay, that would be starting May 1st, 2016, this last May. That would be what we have in cash and or receivables by fund. So I have each fund is listed there. General corporate, we can't show receivables, so that is strictly cash that's available in general corporate as of May 1st. Then based on the budget that's attached to this, we anticipate the revenues for next year to be 5.3 million, expenses to be 5.4. Giving us an increase or a decrease in fund balance of $154,000. Included in that $154 is $10,000 worth of contingency. That's just a number that is not assigned to any expense. And historically for the last 2 years, we've not been hitting those contingency accounts. So the fund balance without the contingency would end up being $82,000, assuming we did everything, every revenue came in, every expense went out. Our fund balance would be $82,000, and if we didn't do the contingency, it would bump it up to $92,000. Now, like I said, that's assuming everything happened. Now, within there, we have the transfers out to the water operating fund of 70. There's a transfer of 30,000 to the ESDA fund, because that funding changed through the real estate property taxes. So that's broken down by every fund. And I highlighted, I guess it's a faint highlight in the copies, of those funds that would show a decrease in fund balance. And again, when we talk about this, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a loss. It means some of them are projects that we're intending on doing. Like in the sewer capital project fund, 03, it's going to show a decrease of $150,000. Well, we're planning on doing that I&I project, which is $175,000. So we know we're going to use some of that fund balance and some of the revenue that's coming in and expenses going out because we want to get that project done. And that's why that particular fund is showing such a decrease. Our capital project, Fund 24, that right there, the timing of the payment that we just is on tonight's checklist, that open lands payment. That check wasn't issued till this fiscal year. The money came in last fiscal year. So it's coming out of fund balance to pay it this year. It's a timing thing in some cases, and the rest is pretty much just a wash. And I will say, our capital project fund, what the budget we place on file tonight will probably be tweaked a little bit when we go to adopt it, because I'm still waiting for official documents from IDOT. I have estimates, and that's what I've budgeted. But if I get actual numbers, I'm switching them to actual when I know what they're gonna be. But worst case scenario, the revenues and the expenses will offset. So it's not gonna impact the bottom line a whole lot. It just might change that number from 5.8 to maybe 5.5. But it's gonna offset revenues and expenses directly. So realistically, we've got about $120,000 in this budget overall that we're not anticipating to use. It's there for contingency, for those things that will occur that we know nothing about or can be prepared for. So it's broken up by fund, and I totaled it. But I mean, our budget right now is $16.9 million, which is a huge budget for our little town of Wilmington of 5,000 people. I mean, that's, when you stop to think about it, you don't think about what our budget is for police, for public works, for our capital projects, our ESDA. You know, there's a lot going on. Our MFT fund, we don't anticipate using hardly anything in MFT this year because this is our building year. We go back and forth. Our TIF fund, we do anticipate having revenues come in, and TIF dollars will be turned back out. We will also be reserving some of that fund balance as part of the administrative costs that need to get set aside for each year going through the TIF. And that's something that I can't do retroactive, I can only do it each year and it'll get reserved. We've talked a little bit about administrative costs of administering the TIF. The city is allowed to collect money for that and pay bills for that. PGAV, our TIF consultants, those bills come out of the TIF funds. If we don't spend that administrative cost, then it gets reserved until year 23 is over, and then what's left gets dispersed accordingly. So we will be reserving some money if it's not spent eligibility-wise through the TIF. Anybody have any questions on the summary? The way the budget gets presented is sometimes hard to read because it shows all the revenues, then it shows all the expenses, and you don't really see what that net effect is by fund. But
Good job kind of explaining it in layman terms. I don't think you can get any more
I like this.
layman than how you presented it, which is pretty good.
yeah, if you want to become accountants, you can keep digging through. But we, you know, in our budget process, I think we did good with going through each section at a time. So hopefully questions were answered at that point, and this is it all compiled.
We got the public hearing scheduled for the first meeting in June.
Correct.
Yeah.
Have we got the notice out, the public notice is mandated?
That was, Kim was gonna wait to comments on from tonight if there was something really drastic that came out of this, because we were working this up till noon today.
Right.
So I think we're set. We were a little nervous on where we're gonna get the numbers in regards to some of the projects.
Some of the unknown.
Yeah, but we got them. And some of the revenues, we're able to establish some of the revenues. We had to make some calls over the last couple of days to keep them very conservative. We don't have any, this year we did not put any revenues in on any type of anticipated coming in, except for one building up at Ridge. And we're pretty assured on that building, we know they're in planning stages already. Which is the 330,000 square foot for Michelin is one of them. And then the second one is the next spec building, which they're designing right now for 1 million square feet. So,
You don't have any speculated sales tax income on here either?
no. No, we're pretty comfortable that we're going to get some different, but at this point, we'll wait to see how things start, coming out of it. They'll leave what I call found money for next year, if we do have some additional sales tax.
As good as it sounds, I mean, out there, as far as sales tax go, we know, what was that, Charlie's?
Yeah, Charlie's.
The Philly cheesesteak place, they've requested from Colby to be able to build a small refrigerated building out there, because they're selling 5 times more
They can't keep it up
They,
in the.
already, you know,
That's good.
predicted, so they're asking for
That is good.
any place to put more.
The readers.
So,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
a very good thing, but at the same time, let's not, we're not, with the budget, we're not jumping the gun on
Well,
that.
that's what, you
Not
know,
there yet.
that's what I was hoping to hear, because we talked about that 2 years ago when we thought the place would be open already.
Yeah, well, we learned from that, you know, we
Yeah.
said, let's wait, let's look at our actuals, and then if we get more than we anticipate, that's a good thing.
And we know there are 53 contracts for the retailers signed, but, you know, we're not gonna take it, until they walk in here and they start building. Why take a chance?
I'm a lot more comfortable knowing where their actual money is, I'll be found later.
Kind of like Christmas present.
It's like a bonus.
Okay, any other questions on the budget summary? Very good, Kim, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we get motion to adjourn.
So,
Second?
All in favor?
All right.